Good morning. Well, those of you who use Facebook, raise your hand again. Waste of time. It's a waste of time. That's what we're going to talk about. Facebook being a waste of time. I actually wanted to talk about a couple other things too. Well, let's talk about the foundation for a minute of networking. You know, a lot of people, CJ was talking about it earlier, a lot of people, they think networking is something, and it's not. They think they're going to come to a group like this, and they're suddenly going to get tons of referrals, and it's not really the way things are going to go. If you're going to be a great networker, you need to do a few things. One of the things you need to really do a great job of is you need to do a great job of meeting people. Write that one down. You need to do a great job of meeting people. You can't expect that you're going to get a lot of business. You can't expect that you're going to build a lot of relationships if you're not in a position of meeting people. So going to events like what we've got going on tonight at Joe's Crab Shack, great opportunity to meet people. You've got to go to events like that. Same thing when we have social functions within this organization. Same thing going to events like Chamber of Commerce's and things like that. You've got to do a better job of meeting people if you want to make more money, if you want to get more referrals. But that's only one of the things in the foundation that you have to do. One of the next things you have to do is you have to make a sincere effort to get to know people once you've met them. In other words, walking up to them, handing them a business card and saying, "Hi, I'm Bob, and hope to talk to you soon," isn't going to get you where you want to be. So write this one down. You've got to make a sincere effort to get to know people. That's why in this organization, we run one-to-ones. You sit down, you get to know them, you talk a little bit about their family, you talk a little bit about your family, you start talking about your business, you start talking about how you get your business, the type of business you want, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And eventually, if you've done 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 of these with the same individual, you start building those relationships so that you are now making a sincere effort to get to know them. It's not just, "Hey, here's my card, call me if you ever think you need me." All right? Here's another thing you need to do when you start meeting those people is you need to find a common interest. Write that one down. You need to find a common interest. If your leadership team actually had my bio, they would have read my bio and it would have talked about a number of different things that I am doing, that I do and that I'm involved in. Now you have to ask yourself, well, why is that important? Why do we always do things like that? And the reason for it is because somewhere along the line, we hope people will see that they have common interests with each other. In other words, how many people in the room have dogs? How many people have been renovating a house? So if you knew that those things were on my bio, all of a sudden there's a common interest. So if you're going to do a great job of meeting people and you're going to do a great job of getting to know them, then you need to start with finding some common interest. That's why having your bio readily available is really, really important, especially in those early meetings, okay? Here's another thing that you need to do, and that's this. You need to find ways to be helpful. Write that one down. You need to find ways to be helpful to people. In other words, how many people have ever been in a situation like this? You pull through, for example, Starbucks, the drive-through, and the barista at the little drive-through says, "Oh, the person in front of you just paid for your coffee." Has that ever happened to anyone? It's happened to me a couple times. How do you think that makes me feel? Makes me feel special, doesn't it? In other words, don't I really want to do something for someone else? If you've ever been in a situation like that where someone has done something for you, you know that you many times want to do something for that person. So finding ways to be helpful to an individual is very, very key to a networking event. And it's very key to being effective as a networker because what it does is it starts that relationship off on a great foot. That's why, for example, in this organization, we talk about givers gain. We want to give business so that we can gain business. Okay? So finding ways to be helpful. But the last thing that we really need to do is we really need to find ways to keep in touch with people. Write that one down. We need to find ways to keep in touch with people. Now, many times we go to a networking event, we collect business cards. How many people have stacks and stacks of business cards in the bottom drawer of their desk? And then you wonder what you do, and once a year what I do is I go through and I throw them all out. And so what happens is, though, that many times people, and especially younger people like they're coming out of college or new and doing business, you know, they think, oh, I have this guy's card, I should just be able to call him up and someone's going to remember who he is. And of course, you call him up and you say, hey, remember me? We met at this event at, well, it was on a Thursday somewhere, I think out on Transit Road, and what's on the other end of that line? Yeah, it's like, or a click, or something like that, right? So we've got to find ways to keep in touch with people. That's one of the reasons, for example, that this organization meets on a weekly basis, so that we are front and center, so that we can build those relationships, so that we are constantly in front of people, so that we can constantly be reminded of the types of business that that individual is looking for. So those are going to be the 5 things that you need to do if you're going to be a phenomenal networker. But many times that doesn't happen. Many times what happens is we meet people at a function, we take their business card, we never talk to that individual again, and we think we've networked. We think, oh, this is going to lead to tons of business. We run into a lot of people at Chamber of Commerce events who think that that's the way. Here, let me give you my card. And then I get home and I wonder, well, why did this guy give me his card? I really don't even have a clue as to who he is or what he's doing. So, of course, where does that card end up? The bottom drawer, and then at the end of the year, where does that card end up? Yeah, because I can't be bothered to throw the card out initially. I feel bad about that, right? But that's all that happens. It just sits there. It just sits there, right? But we think that we've networked again. So here's some thoughts. The first is have the courage to introduce yourself to people. Have the courage to go to an event and introduce yourself to people. But when I say introduce yourself to people, I don't mean, hi, I'm Bob, and I do this. The question should be reversed. It's, hi, I'm Bob, well, what is it that you do? Why? Because that goes back to building that relationship. It's not about you at that point. It's about the individual. After all, you're there to network and make some money. But all of that is what we call face-to-face networking. Word-of-mouth networking, those kind of things, right? But there's another kind of networking that we really ought to talk about, and that's really when we talk about networking and we talk about keeping in touch with people. We want to talk about social networking, all right? This is where Facebook comes in. This is where LinkedIn comes in. This is where all these social networks come in, including, by the way, one that's becoming larger and larger, which is BNI Connect. Now, BNI Connect can be a huge source of referrals for you if you decide that you're going to use it and use it properly, okay? You see, the difference between something like Facebook or LinkedIn and BNI Connect is that in BNI Connect, it's what we call a closed garden. In other words, not everyone gets to get into BNI Connect. The only way you get into BNI Connect is, of course, be a member of BNI, and then thus you get to connect. See how that works? See, BNI Connect. Just add the .com and we're good to go, right? Okay, so in other words, it can be a great source of referrals for you if you decide that you're going to use it. You've got to use it, though, a little bit differently, all right? What I want you to understand is that if you recognize the factors that you need to take advantage of if you're going to be doing face-to-face networking, if you recognize what those factors are, you can use those factors in order to be very effective when we start talking about social networking. Because those factors are exactly the same. You have to do and follow those 5 same principles, all right? Now, how many people have heard someone say recently, Facebook is a waste of time? How many people have heard that? I mean, besides me saying it earlier. Yeah, Facebook is a waste of time. I mean, my mother, oh, I can't believe that people are on there, right? You know, my soon-to-be ex-wife says, oh, I can't believe how much time... Is that the funny line? She says, I can't believe how much time you spend on Facebook, blah, blah, blah. But there's a reason that I spend as much time on Facebook and LinkedIn as I do. One, yes, it is to stalk ex-girlfriends. However, I also use it for business purposes. Can you do me a favor? Just pass this around. This is a sample of a referral that I received not too long ago from someone from Facebook. Now, how did I meet this individual? Okay, she was an ex-girlfriend many years ago, and I think she was stalking me. However, of course, yeah, we possibly want to do that. Huh? Exactly. What I want you to know is, though, because I use Facebook the way I use Facebook, I can use that to stay in touch with the kind of people that I think can get me where I want. Now, this person originally started and migrated over from LinkedIn. That's how we originally connected. But she then migrated over to Facebook, and you're going to find that this is more and more the case. You're going to find that people are going to be migrating again over into things like BNI Connect and other social networking sites, all right? There's that whole migration source, all right? But social networking is really a way for you to position yourself as an expert. It's a way for you to position yourself as a thought leader, okay? Now, what I really mean by that is that, you know what? People know about you based on what you tell them. I mean, at the end of the day, it's what you tell them, right? I could tell you, for example, if I told you enough times that I was with a company called Benjamin Andrews & King, you would begin to think, you know what? He must be with a company called Benjamin Andrews & King, and he's probably the king part of that organization, right? So people know what you tell them. So position yourself as a thought leader when you start using social networking, all right? This is an opportunity for you to use things like publish blogs. It's an opportunity for you to write articles. It's an opportunity for you to post status updates about not the fact that, you know, your cat is climbing the tree, but maybe start posting status networks about things that are important to your business. And the reason why is very simply this. It's because you're positioning yourself as a thought leader. It's because you're allowing people to see and hear the things that you want to hear. You know, you think about politics all day long, and what do we talk about? Politics is nothing more than a spin. Well, guess what? Business is nothing more than a spin at the end of the day. And so you need to spin your business the way you want your business to be seen. All right? So you need to use those social networking sites in a way that's going to position you and your business the way that you want to be seen, all right? One of the things that you really ought to do is you really ought to take a look at your profile. Now, if you take a look at something like BNI Connect, on BNI Connect last month, or I believe the month of October, your goal was to at least update your profile. Make sure things like your name and all that kind of stuff is accurate, but also to post a picture of yourself. Now, I'm going to recommend, by the way, if you're going to post a picture of yourself, that it be somewhat flattering. Maybe not a picture of your sweaty head, you know, with you holding a beer there going, hey, kind of leering at whatever you happen to be leering at. Okay, yeah, I had kind of sweaty head. All right, my point is that, again, this goes back to you positioning yourself in the way that you want to be positioned, okay? So take a look at your profile. Take a look at, make sure that information is correct. By the way, if you go on Facebook, you can take a look, if you look at your email is actually a Facebook email. You may want to change that back to your own personal or business email, okay? Also, you know, recognize that many people get stuck in what we call that I syndrome, okay? You know, if you're networking with your friends, this is an opportunity for you to open doors to jobs that perhaps you're looking for, or customers that perhaps you're looking for. You know, when you stand up and you say, hey, I would like to meet so-and-so, doesn't it make sense that maybe that ought to be information that you ought to post on Facebook? Think of all the friends that you have, whether they're business related or whether they're personal friends. If you stood up and said, I want to meet Mike Smith from XYZ company, as opposed to, I want to meet the owner of XYZ Christmas tree place. Okay? You know, doesn't it make sense that that information is out there and that you can now use that to say, your best friend that you didn't happen to know, your best friend's girlfriend happens to be dating that guy. Or however that works. Okay? So in other words, use your status updates and publish that profile the way you want. Here's another thing I want. I want you to make sure that you need to make sure that your message is clear. Use Facebook, use LinkedIn for lead generation. There's a number of different ways. Talk to some of the experts in this room about Facebook and lead generation. Talk to some of the experts in this room about LinkedIn and how you can use that to be introduced to the people that you want to meet. Here's another thing I can recommend, and that's very simply this. Use testimonials to your advantage. You know that you have testimonials on LinkedIn. It's easy to put testimonials on there. On Facebook, it's not so easy, but you can still do it, all right? So use those testimonials. Why? Because, again, this goes back to spinning your business and spinning your operation the way that you want people to see your operation, all right? You know, at the end of the day, social networking is really about VCP. VCP is how BNI was built, right? Visibility, credibility, profitability. In order to be profitable, you've got to be visible. One of the best ways you can be visible is, of course, by using social networking. How many people have more than 100 friends on Facebook? How many people have more than 200, 300, 400, 500? How many people have almost 1,000 friends? Okay? Think of the number of friends that each one of those people have. That's visibility. That's an opportunity for you to build your business and have people see you the way you want to be seen. All right? Last step you want to take advantage of it, and that's this. Get involved in different groups. Just like in BNI, we say, you know what, you ought to be involved in different groups. Get involved in the chamber, get involved in this, get involved in that. You know what? Social networking has the same groups. LinkedIn has tons of different organizations and groups that you can join. Why? Because it's an opportunity for you to be seen the way you want to be seen. All right? I'm not recommending you get involved in a group of 50,000 people. Why? Because you can get lost in that wash. But if you're involved in a group that has 500, 1,000, 5,000 people, well, now it's much easier for you to be seen in that smaller pond. All right? So recognize this. Your mission is to seek to provide that value first. Then you can find those buyers, okay? So, Facebook, as I'm sure most of you know, Facebook tends to be more of a social network. Don't social as in social like socialize, as opposed to LinkedIn, which may be more of a business. But don't let that fool you. You can use Facebook, you can use LinkedIn for exactly what you want to accomplish if you recognize what those 5 main tenets of being a great networker is. Those 5 main tenets, it's real simply this. Make sure that you do a great job of meeting people. Make sure that you're making a sincere effort to get to know them. Make sure that you're finding those common interests when you start interacting with those people. Make sure you find ways to be helpful to them and ensure ways to keep in touch. Facebook, LinkedIn, all those social networking sites, BNI Connect, are great ways to stay in touch as long as you spin your message the way that people want to be met. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.